Hey everybody, this is Zachary Jeans. Let's keep walking through this Bible. So today is day 341, and we are making our way through the Old Testament. We're in the book of Genesis, and we're about halfway through. We have looked at the beginning of all creation. We've looked at the dispersion of the people, the judging of people, the next dispersion of people post-flood, and now we're looking at essentially this patriarchal family of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the eventual formation of Israel from Jacob. So anyhow, love what we're going through. Some of the genealogies, obviously, we're not reading name by name. We will pick up on various names where it's important, I think. And with a read through of this magnitude over the course of a year, Lord willing, we aren't going to dig deep, and I'm not going to be super precise, but I think we're going to note some interesting things, right? So if you ever see anything interesting that I missed, it's not because I didn't want to cover the whole passage in depth. It's just, you can't do it in a read through. It's just not possible. So, but may God bless you as you're going through the word. May you get into the word, and thank you for getting in the word with me. All right. Well, why don't we stop? Why don't we pray? And then we'll get into our passage. Lord, I love you. God, thanks for your word. Thanks for giving me this little opportunity to get in your word. It's both a small thing and a big thing. And Lord, I want to be faithful with it, and I want to honor you. Man, Lord, I love you. It's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen. All right. Well, again, we're on episode 341, and we are in Genesis 26. And we're going to pick it up here with God's promise to Isaac. Now, there was a famine in the land, besides the former famine that was in the days of Abraham, and Isaac went to Gerar to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. And the Lord appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and to your offspring I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and I will give to your offspring all these lands. And in your offspring, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." God's honoring Abraham's faith. God's honoring Abraham's obedience. And he's inviting Isaac, his son, to do the same. He is sharing with him that his purposes ultimately are to grant him and his descendants this land which encompasses what we know today as modern Israel, and some areas that, modern Israel does not sit on. But Isaac, to this point, and Abraham for that matter, they owned a cave. Remember? And they owned a cave and maybe part of a field for a steep price, as one commentator assesses. They didn't own land. They were allowed to dwell. They're allowed to set up tents here and there, and they were successful. But where they lived was out in the not as fertile areas, and when famine hit, it starts to hit those areas first. So Isaac heads on down to the lower lands and over to where the Philistines are. And now, mind you, this is all predating what we think of. At least most of us have read our Bibles. It all gets mishmashed together, right? The timelines. David would come hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later. Okay, and his battle with the Philistines and the judges even, right? And they're back and forth over the hundreds of years. So, but this is the predating of that. This is the source relationship where there is this difficulty. And this is also a time when, again, Isaac and Abraham, they did not own land yet. Okay. So Isaac settled in Gerar. When the men of the place asked him about his wife, he said, guess what? Guess what he said? She's my sister. Like father, like son, right? For he feared to say my wife, thinking, lest the men of the place should kill me because of Rebekah. Why? Because she was attractive in appearance. She was beautiful. And he was like, they're going to take her and they're going to kill me. When he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out of a window and saw Isaac laughing with Rebekah's wife. So Abimelech called Isaac and said, behold, she's your wife. How then could you say she's my sister? Isaac said to him, because I thought lest I die because of her. Abimelech said, what is this you've done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, whoever touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. There's so much here. I wish we could dive into it, but I will just note a couple things. One, it's a little thing, but Rebekah and Isaac laughed together. And Isaac's name is laughter, right? Or he who laughs. Or he laughs. And, there's these cheesy marriage conferences, which are, laugh your way to a happy marriage or something like that. And, but it's true to a degree. I mean, you gotta have, I think you have to be able to laugh with your spouse in the midst of, in this case, Isaac and Rebekah are in the midst of a hostile nation or a semi-hostile nation. And at least a place where Isaac thinks he could be killed if he declares that he's actually married to her. And there's a famine that's wrecking the world. And they happen to be in this little pocket where there's enough food to sustain people. So there are people literally starving to death in the outer lands around them. And here they are, and they're able to laugh together. Right? The second thing I want to point out is that there is a punishment and a price, even in cultures which people might have viewed, the Philistines, or at least at this time, this culture, that they were, I don't know, somehow immoral or ungodly or whatever. But they note that there is a punishment for taking the sexual relationship from a marriage into another situation, compromising it. And that it's not just the negative stuff that comes from the conflict of, the man being offended who is in the marriage, or the woman, or whatever, and then the new couple and maybe some people around them. They recognize that there's a divine judgment on that, and that there are negative consequences. And I wonder, in our society, and before I got married, I was of course guilty of this. I had relationships and didn't think anything of it. But I think that that's part of it, is that we don't think anything of it. We don't think that there's any, outside of the difficulties of, broken relationships, broken hearts, or the callousness of just physical relationships, without any, long-term commitment of emotion and relationship. It's more than that. I think that Paul tells us that there is a binding together some sort of spiritual co-opting or, entangling. If we get into quantum entanglement and thinking about what souls are and then what sex is and how two people come together and whether they think it's something more or not, it is, in fact, an entangling. When you pull that apart, there's a rip, there's damage, and it's not just damage in an emotional sense or a social sense. Like there's a real ruining of like quantum entanglement of like two souls. A lot we could say. But Abimelech notes, just like the time when Abraham was down there with Sarah, same deal. Okay. So Abimelech says, whoever touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. And Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. His farmer had animals, and the man became rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled the earth with earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father. And Abimelech said to Isaac, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave him the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. So he called the name of the well Esek. And Esek means, I'll just read down here, a contention. So all these wells will have these different names to identify what was going down between the people. Because they contended with him. Then they dug another well and they quarreled over that also. So he called that Sitnah. Sitnah means enmity. Enmity. If you aren't used to using the word enmity, enmity means like war, conflict of like a great, like warring conflict. All right. So, and he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called its name Rehoboth. Rehoboth means broad place or room. Means they stretched out to a place where there's no more conflict. Saying, for now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. Sometimes we just want to stretch out and get to a place where we have a little bit of room. From there he went up to Beersheba. And the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you and will bless you and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake. So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzath, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you? And they said, we plainly see that the Lord has been with you. So that we said, let there be a sworn pact between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you, and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. So they could see it. And they recognized that every time they tried to put a spur in his side, and tried to keep him down, tap him down, move him out to less good areas to live in, everywhere he went, found water, and he found a blessing. And they move him out from there, found water, found a blessing. Finally found a place that was far away, and the Lord came and met him and said, I'm going to bless you like I blessed your daddy. And then they show up and they're like, look, we get it. You're blessed. And we don't want no problems with you. Okay? So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths. And Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well that they had dug, and said to him, we have found water. He called it Sheba. Therefore the name of this city is Beersheba to this day, and Sheba means an oath. Okay. City of the oath. Or perhaps, so the well would be oath, and Beersheba is probably, I gotta double check that. I'm not gonna say. But I think it means like the town of the oath or something like that. When Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, to be his wife, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. Remember, he's like, don't go find my son a wife among, the Canaanites, the Hittites, those people there, find me a wife for my kid, from my people. So Esau went ahead and went a different direction. Made life bitter for mom and dad. Parenting's tough, right? And so many parents wrestle with this. We as kids at different points made life hard for our parents, and growing up's hard. And a lot of times people are trying to carve out, create a little elbow space in their life, trying to find their own identity, and so people want to do that, and sometimes at the cost of maybe taking the most peaceful path. They want to leverage some anger, leverage some frustration. They do things that get the attention of the people around them. And they don't necessarily do it for the right reasons. So Esau, having lost his birthright, having lost all this stuff, he goes out and he does something to kind of stick it to his parents. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son. He answered, here am I, or here I am. He said, behold, I'm old. I don't know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver, your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. That dog will hunt. And prepare for me delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die. Oh, Esau, go hunt. Go get me some food. You just see this guy. Man, Isaac really did roll over there. He did not bear out a life, with all Jacob / Israel's faults. He ends up having a fairly earnest life. And Abraham, of course, did as well. Isaac kind of had every opportunity, but he really is a bridge. And I got to hope that there's more to his story that we just don't read about in here. I mean, there has to be, right? We only get like a few chapters, a glimpse into somebody's life. There's more to their life, right? But what we got is what we got. And he's rolling over here. He's like, I'm gonna die. And he will die much later than this moment. So he's really not. But he's doing this woe is me thing. And he's also disregarding the word which God gave Rebekah and all of this, right? He's going with the traditional route. It's like, my oldest son, I'm going to bless him. And he's dodging what God had said at the birth of Esau and Isaac, or Esau and Jacob, whatever. So like that also goes to show you kind of like the lack of nearness that he had to the Lord, or his lack of, I don't know, attentiveness to him. So Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game, prepare for me delicious food, that I may eat it, bless you before the Lord before I die. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare them delicious food for your father, just as such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat, and he may bless you before he dies. But Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man. I'm a smooth man. I'm a smooth man. And perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing. His mother said to him, Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go bring them to me. And this woman knew her husband, and he was cooked. Still had the patriarchal, in a positive sense, responsibility in the family to the Lord, line of Abraham, going to pass it on to a son, promised to have generations and peoples that, number as much as the stars, all of that. But she knew he was done. Put a fork in him. And he probably wasn't going to die today like he was saying, but we'll be okay, Jacob. We'll figure this out. Trust me. I sleep with the guy sometimes, right? He doesn't know where stuff is. He's lost. He's blind. He can't feel that great. He doesn't know what's going on. The Bible really tells the story here of just how toast Isaac was at this time, and that he could be deceived, right? Which he's going to be, as we'll read here. So Jacob went and took them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared delicious food such as father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So she's trying to fulfill that word, remember? The younger or the older shall serve the younger. So he went into his father and said, My father. He said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I'm Esau, your firstborn. Straight up lies. I've done as you told me. Now sit up and eat my game, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? He answered, Because the Lord your God granted me success. Boom. Another lie. Another lie. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not. So Jacob, he went near to Isaac, his father, who felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He's feeling goat hair. Recently skinned goat hair, right? He's about to eat the food from the goat from which the pelt, right, or the goat skin with the hair on it came. I mean, he's hearing Jacob, and he's like, oh, but this is a nice goaty arm. It's like, oh my goodness. Wow, right? He really is cooked. So, in a way, this is also the third lie, deceiving him by oh, feel my goatee arm, right? So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, the voice of Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him and he said, are you really my son Esau? Jacob answered, I am. Fourth lie. Then he said, bring it near to me that I may eat of my son's game and bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come near and kiss me, my son. So he came near and kissed him. And Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him and said, this is kind of the fifth lie there, right? The garments, one more time, let me really lean in. There's the goatee hair on his neck and face, right? Can you imagine what he really looked like, though? Isaac is he can't see, and he's kind of hard of hearing and smelling, and he's like, yeah, that kind of smells like you. It's like, doesn't sound like you, but I guess. But here he is. He says, see the smell of my son. It is the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. Just a note, and I believe this to be true with all the genealogies, and I think that this is implied from our first big genealogy that we get, right, is that, and he had other sons and daughters. I think we get the key names for the story as it's important to telling the story of the Bible. I think there are plenty of places, including the first genealogy, that tells us that there are other sons and daughters. And here's a situation where I don't think it's just like others, like as in brothers, others will bow down to you. I think that it implies that Jacob, or rather Isaac, had other kids, like plenty of other kids. Like they're super fertile people. And that there were kids by, by some of the servants. And I don't think we have a complete genealogy. That's what I'm saying. And I believe that actually helps the Bible's case in history. Not that the Bible needs any help, but people often go, well, there's just not enough genetic diversity, or I don't see how the population could have grown if this is what we have. It doesn't split out the right way. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think that the Bible, it tells us that there are other sons and daughters. And people also had tons of kids, and they, in our point of view, they slept around, and those kids had kids. There are also other peoples floating around the earth, which are clearly there. Cain goes out and finds a wife. Who was Cain's wife if it wasn't Eve's daughter? Like, it tells a specific story which leads to the Christ, which leads to the salvation of the world. As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me. His father Isaac said to him, who are you? Who are you? He answered, I'm your son, your firstborn. Esau then, your firstborn Esau. And then Isaac trembled very violently, and he said, well, who was it that hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate it all before you came, and I blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed. As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry. Said to his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. But he said, your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing. Esau said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob?" And as we noted earlier, Jacob means he takes him by the heel, or he cheats. Wow. So, for he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he's taken away my blessing. Then he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Isaac answered and said to Esau, "Behold, I have made him lord over you, and all his brothers I have given to him for his servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau said to him, his father, "Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Oh, now he cares, right? I think he just took it in stride. He's the oldest, strongest, baddest dude in the land, right? And just thought, none of this matters. And then when it did matter, it mattered. Then Isaac his father answered, and he said to him, "Behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck." Well, tucked away in there is a little nugget, you know. You're going to be able to cut loose from him, specifically you, him. Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I'm going to kill my brother Jacob." But the word of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, "Behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban, my brother in Haran, and stay with him a while until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you've done to him, what you have done to him." It was Rebekah's idea, right? "Your curse be upon my head, my son." Hey, now it's your problem. You got to get out of here. "Then I'll send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereft of you both in one day?" Rebekah said to Isaac, "I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land. What good will my life be to me?" What a mess. And yet God causes it to work together for good. For his glory, for his name, for his promise. He works through people that are trying to twist and tangle up all the promises that he gave them. And how true is that of us? How true is that of us? All right. God bless you. Thank you for love. Thank you for likes. Thank you for those who are supporting me financially. You can do that at ko-fi.com, Zachary Jeans, /Zachary Jeans. In fact, I'm taking I get a small amount of money from a couple different people. I appreciate you. Picking up a commentary set off Facebook for when I go back through the New Testament next year. So I found a commentary set, and I appreciate you for supporting me. If you want to support me, that's how you can do it. You can always pray for me. Everything we do here will always be free. Always. So until next time, hey, keep walking. God bless you. Bye-bye.